Two. Hello, and welcome to our presentation on creating a rubric to assess student posts on the IVE project. My name is Heather Woodward, and we also have Andrew Warrick, who created the rubric as well. And the purpose of our presentation is to share the rubric that we created and review empirical and theoretical literature that we can base the rubric on, and after we discuss our experiences using it. So first we're going to discuss EDC, then introduce the IVE project. After, we will review the literature from the field of call and from language assessment. Next, we present our rubric. And at the end, we conclude and ask some discussion questions for audience members. So EDC stands for English Discussion Class, and it's a class that we both teach at Rikkyo University. And Rikkyo University is a university, private university in Tokyo and Saitama that helps students practice speaking and listening skills. It's a required class for first-year students at Rikkyo. And they learn discussion skills and communication skills. For discussion skills, it helps them to discuss, talk about the ideas and their opinions more deeply. And communication skills helps them, if they encounter a breakdown in communication, they will be able to repair it by using paraphrasing, clarification, and comprehension. Discussion skills, for example, are asking and giving opinions, asking and giving for reasons, skills like that. So why do we have EDC? EDC, the course is based on like CLT, communicative language teaching, in which that students use the language in order to learn it, as opposed to traditional approaches of learning language to use it in the future. The class also helps students build confidence and fluency skills. So next. Some of the drawbacks of EDC are that students mainly come from Japan. So topics covered such as foreign customs and foreign culture, students tend to have similar ideas and experiences. They don't have as many as they would if they came from different backgrounds. Additionally, when they're discussing their own customs from their own culture, they tend to talk about ideas such as like osechi and otoshidama without actually explaining what these words mean in English. Lastly, Professor Yashima wrote about international posturing, and she states that students are motivated to learn English, and because they consider English to be the world's language and a means by which that they can communicate with foreign people and make foreign friends and travel abroad, regardless of the country. So students who have a desire to interact with the international community, we can't really do so in the classroom, but we can through the IVE project. And Andrew will explain more about that.
Okay, so the IVE project, it's basically an online discussion forum. I guess bringing together students who are learning English from a variety of countries. It provides the opportunity for them to communicate asynchronously with each other, all the while giving them a venue to practice their English and learn about other cultures. Some good points about it are that it doesn't cost individuals or even institutions anything. It's all paid for money from a Japanese Keiken grant. And among its participants, the IVE project currently counts students from other Southeast Asia countries, the Middle East, as well as Central and South America. So going back to what Heather was saying, in our own discussion classes at Rikkyo, the students are all from one singular cultural background, but the IVE project allows us to have them interact with students from a variety of cultural backgrounds, so that they're sharing ideas outside of the sort of Japanese cultural context.
Hmm.
But in addition to improving English skills outside of the classroom, for our students, the IVE project can also deepen intercultural understanding among its participants, and in so doing, make students more excited to learn English. Going back to what Heather was saying about international posturing, the idea that if you're using English to communicate with people from other countries, it's sort of exciting and stimulating and motivates you to want to learn English more. But furthermore, by utilizing, I guess, the discussion skills they've learned in our EDC lessons, students can maybe feel more motivated, and I guess their outcomes will improve as well with regards to our own English discussion classes. So they're talking to people from other countries, like on the forum, using the skills that they've learned. That sort of, on the one hand, motivates them more to learn those skills, reinforces that they're useful in like non-classroom context, and at the same time improves how well they're doing within our classes. And I guess by participating in this forum, they can appreciate what they've learned and feel that it's useful in real world situations. Okay, and
Next.
okay, next. Yeah, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this, I guess I'll talk briefly about previous student participation from Rikkyo in the IVE project. I guess overall the feedback was very positive, and many said, though, that they had wished more countries had been able to participate. So I think they liked that aspect of being able to interact with people from outside of Japan. However, as participation was sort of counted towards their in-class grade, many students had said that they wished there was sort of greater clarity on how they would be evaluated for their posts on the forum. And so that sort of feedback from the students previously, when we had them use the IVE forum, led us to seek to develop a rubric for online discussion forums. And that's, I guess, where this project came about ultimately. Okay, go to the next one.
Yep. And that was the end. Also, just a shout out to Eric Hagley, because Eric Hagley created the IVE project years ago, and he has expanded it each year, and now IVE Project has, like, I think 5,000 students from around the world. So thank you very much, Eric Hagley, for maintaining the IVE project. And this is the literature review, and we're going to discuss online asynchronous discussions, rubrics, theory, and then different studies. So let's continue. What is an online asynchronous discussion? So IVE Project basically is an online asynchronous discussion, and it means that there are forums in which participants can access and write posts at their convenience at whatever time they wish to do so. So for example, another online asynchronous forum is like Reddit, which is, I think, quite popular. Some advantages of online asynchronous discussions are, first, for students, it promotes sharing and it encourages critical thinking. Next, it helps students to think reflectively, and it can help them collaborate, problem solve, and it helps with knowledge construction. So now we're going to show you an example of what an open forum looks like on the IVE project. This is a discussion that Andrew and I had about whether robots will replace humans in the future. Students can create their own topics in the open forum, so it can be a lot of fun for students to create their own topics. And you can see they can add photos and ask questions. Right here, I'm using the discussion skills. What do you think of my idea? Do you agree with me? And Andrew replies, hi, disagree with you. I think there will be big changes to how humans work. And Andrew showed a graph, so you can give some like evidence. And he also added a link to the website and added a YouTube video about AI social. What is this again? AI.
That's actually,
what is this?
I think it's a virtual YouTuber.
Wow. So not a real person.
Yeah. So you said that some creative jobs can't be done by robots, but then I was like, hold on a second, they're trying to do that.
Here is one. Yeah, here's a creative job. Yeah, maybe AI is quite creative and take our creative jobs away from us. So yeah, and I replied back to him, and yeah, you can see like what it can look like. Students can go on and reply to each other and ask questions. And oh, this is Andrew. Andrew?
Okay. So I guess now I'm going to explain quickly about I guess why rubrics are useful. So I guess basically rubrics help both students and teachers. On the student side of things, rubrics can help students, I guess, understand what exactly teachers expect of them. And then this can in turn help improve student outcomes. So by carefully designing a rubric to make students aware of what they need to do, it can sort of be a way to help ensure that students accomplish the things that you're setting out for them. So on the teacher side of things, rubrics can sort of fit within the framework of the formative learning process, because rubrics can show teachers what areas students are maybe struggling with, and then teachers can then modify their teaching in some way, perhaps by like including supplementary support or review lessons or that sort of thing for these weaker areas. And then in the end, that can help students improve their like final outcome. So it becomes easier to help students improve once these problematic areas are identified, and by having a rubric, both teachers and students can see what areas are maybe lacking and that need to be addressed. So that's sort of how they help both students and teachers in that regard. But then I guess also on the student side, rubrics can sort of serve as a way to track their achievement. And that can like function as a means of motivation, since they can see in what areas they're improving, and also make them aware of what areas they need to work on. So again, going back to being a tool for improving student outcomes, ultimately rubrics can help both teachers and students do this. Okay, can you go to the next part?
Yep. Okay. One common mistake that many teachers make is using technology for its own sake, rather than integrating it and using it in accordance with theoretical principles and approaches. And one approach that we use is constructivism. And we chose this theory because it aligns with our own teaching principles. And we will explain what that is. So constructivism is a theory in which students construct knowledge actively rather than passively, and experiences and reflections of those experiences help them to represent and incorporate novel information into their pre-existing schema. So what does this look like in the classroom? For example, students, let's see, students in a traditional classroom have like a fixed curriculum, but in a constructivist classroom, teachers really help students to create questions and their interests are valued. And in a traditional classroom, learning is based on repetition, whereas in a constructivist classroom, learning is interactive and build on what experiences the students already have. Also, teachers have like dialogues with students to help them co-construct knowledge, as the teacher's role is more interactive rather than like directive and authoritative. So assessments look like a process rather than just a product. It includes student works and observations and points of view, and not just testing correct answers or incorrect answers as a means to determine how well student have done in the classroom. So let's go on. And here, Craney et al. And Pels wrote that how students can, how teachers can create these rubrics is to describe goals for students' posts and to give examples of posts that would enhance their understanding of what it is they need to do. And lastly, they recommend creating a self-check element for students to ensure that their goals are met. Andrew?
Okay. So next I'm going to, I guess, briefly explain some research by Penny and Murphy. So what they did was they basically reviewed 50 online asynchronous discussion rubrics, and then they found there was 153 different performance criteria, and then over 831 ratings criteria. So there was quite a broad range of different things included in these rubrics. But overall, if we break it down into 5 categories that they had, I guess they found that most things fell within sort of some cognitive evaluation of student performance on the online discussion forum. And then next most popular element was a mechanical element. So what that means is how well students used their L2 in the forum, basically. And then the third most popular element was procedural or managerial, sort of whether the students were doing X number of posts or Y number of replies, that kind of thing. So basically achieving benchmarks that the teacher had set out. And then I guess the fourth most popular element was some interactive component, looking at how well students replied or engaged with each other. And then there was sort of a not assigned or vague element down at the end. But we took these 4 most popular ones and we incorporated them into designing our own rubric, which we'll explain momentarily.
Yeah, thank you. Procedural can also mean like whether they got their work done on time and how many times, like whether they handed it in on time or whether they followed the instructions and things like that. Yeah, I just wanted to add
a question and that kind
right. Yeah, example. Okay, so now we're going into the rubric for the IVE project that we created, and it looks intimidating at first, but hopefully we can explain it clearly. There's six, let's see, there at the top, students can receive a 0 to a 5 from, like, you know, not turning it into superior. And so their scores will be out of 30 points because we have 6 categories over here. And their 6 categories are clarity, depth, novelty, relevance, engagement, and audio visual. Yeah. So students receive 1 score per week, just 30 points per week, and we're marking their posts and participation that they had done throughout the week, and not just they just received 1 score per week, but they have gone on to IVE Project at least twice, we're hoping. And so what this means is, like, a superior means that they have done all of these. They included audio visual. They were replying to 4 or more posts with follow-up questions. For engagement, all the students created posts that are relevant to the topic, relate to the topic itself, and they provide something new information. So if one Japanese student has already written about kimono, our student will choose maybe a different topic to add to that one forum if it's about Japanese culture. And depth, we wanted to include the discussion skills. So we were hoping that the students can use the English discussion class discussion skills, like giving opinions and giving reasons and asking for reasons and asking for different viewpoints on their IVE project. And the last is clarity. So all the posts that the students write are clear to us. We can read them and we think, oh yeah, I understand what they're saying. And so here we have all, here we have most, and then we have some, few, none, and then the student didn't submit the assignment is the last column. So we tried to make it quite easy on ourselves. So 4 posts, 3 posts, 2 posts, 1 post, no posts are clear. So we're just like counting posts basically and seeing whether the students have created it. And if they create 4 posts that are clear, we'll give them a 5. If they create, you know, a post that relates to the topic, we'll give them a 5, and so on. Yeah. Is there anything more to add, Andrew? Is there anything?
Maybe I'll come back to this, I guess later when I'm going to discuss what we took away from the literature to develop.
Sure. Okay.
That's maybe a better time.
Okay.
But for now, though, we'll just review quickly which elements we've included.
Right.
Oh, and I guess this is the Japanese version. I guess Heather and I tried our best to translate it so that we could show students in their native language what exactly we're expecting of them. Mm-hmm. And basically it says the same as what the English version does, only in Japanese. So.
And it's a less intimidating, I think, because it's in their native language.
Tried to make it seem like less daunting to students, because one concern I had was that the sort of like the 6x6 table is looking like there's a lot of things going on. Mm-hmm. But if you maybe look at it in your native language, so a Japanese student looks at it in Japanese and sees that they're probably already doing most of those things anyway without having to worry about it, then it's less concerning. So.
But we also created a checklist. So.
Yeah. So like as Heather already mentioned, one of the things that other researchers found was that having a checklist for students to do to sort of make sure that they've done the things that the rubric is expecting of them helps make sure that they do those things basically. And that's sort of ultimately a way of guaranteeing that the quality of the posts remains high, that they're applying the language skills that you're hoping them to do, but they're also engaging with other students in the forum in the way that you expect them. So it serves multiple purposes having a checklist like that.
Yeah, I think it's easier for students with the checklist as well. Just all right, and so we've been using this rubric this semester, and I have come up with some changes that I would make to it, at least for next semester. But Andrew and I have different views on how we would change this rubric that we've created. And so maybe I'll start. I think that for lower level students, I would probably ask them to write like less posts because it's quite intimidating for them. And secondly, the relevance column, how relevant is the post to the forum topic? I just tend to always give 5s because it doesn't seem like there's any I don't know, students tend to just automatically do it. So I would probably replace relevance with something like communication skill usage, because the EDC class has these communication skills, paraphrasing, clarification, comprehension, and I would probably replace that with here. Of course, they can't use all of the skills because, you know, one of them is like, can you repeat that? You wouldn't use it for an online discussion forum, but I still think it's good for them to know when to use it and when, you know, what forms can they actually use, like paraphrasing, for example, they could use it. It's been easier to use as I've gone along as well. Do you have anything else to add, Andrew?
Well, like initially when we were designing the rubric, Heather read some articles and came up with some ideas, and I read some articles and came up with mine. And then this is sort of an amalgamation of both of our rubrics. But initially I had created something a lot less daunting because I had lower level students in mind, and I made my examples a much more simplistic, because the IVE forum is perhaps expecting quite a bit, and one of my concerns was it would be out of the reach of some of the lower level English students at Rikkyo University. As it happens this semester, I'm not teaching any classes of those students, so for me this this rubric is working well.
It is quite daunting. I totally agree with you.
It is very daunting.
Yeah.
But initially, I had a 6x2 rubric, much more simplistic. But then we found.
But you clustered all of the constructs together. So I didn't like that because I felt we should separate the constructs, like novelty from depth, depth from relevance,
and I agreed. So like adding that level of granularity helps. I guess distinguish, I guess, like a good post from an excellent post sort of thing. And then
well, it helps communicate our.
Yeah, but what also students have not been doing, it helps you identify things more clearly. So we find that, like, while it is maybe at first glance intimidating, having more rows in the rubric helps give you that granularity that you need to pinpoint student.
Give students granularity, because we would give them individual scores for each category and not the overall total score.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have like 1 minute, Andrew.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go on to the next.
We've got to go. Like we've got to like speed through this. We've got to connect. We literally have 50 seconds. So.
Okay. So in designing the rubric, we made some connections to, I guess, the popular ideas from other researchers. So Like Moskal said, rubrics should clarify what the teachers expect of students. This helps the students know what they need to do and achieve those goals. We've included those popular elements from Penny and Murphy's study, having elements that I guess look at their cognitive skills, but also how well they do things like managerial criteria, procedural criteria, and interactiveness, and so on. So you can see back when Heather showed you the our rubric, we've incorporated elements from those ideas, but we've also taken ideas from Craney et al. And Pell's, things related to novelty and relevance, making sure that the posts are both new but connected to the topic, and then taking into account both qualitative and quantitative elements. So describing what we expect students to do, but also outlining how many times we expect them to do it. And then we've given examples to help illustrate good and bad and so-so posts. And then finally, a checklist to help students review, I guess, whether they've done the things that they are supposed to do. So taking all of these ideas from previous research into asynchronous online discussion forum rubrics, and then incorporating it into ours, which is why it was so big.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, Andrew. I know you wanted to say. All right, so we have some questions. And have your students participated on like online asynchronous discussions? How did it go? What aspects were important to assess? Why were they important? And what constructs should be added or deleted, and why? Yeah, it's really a work in progress. I think rubrics are, a process, and we just continue to get feedback, and we hope to get more feedback in the future from other instructors and
but also students, whether they found the rubric and
so
achieve what they were meant to, or whether it was too complicated or that sort of thing.
We're interested to know like what students think about the rubric, and hopefully we can survey them and get their ideas. So this is our reference page. We have a lot of references. Thank you very much, especially Eric Hagley. I just want to say thank you very much, Eric Hagley, for the IVE project. You work really hard and our students love it. So thank you very much. Andrew, would you like to say anything?
I guess thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you,
And I guess if you'd like to, you can contact Heather or I if you have any further questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Are we going to give them our email address or something?
I'm pretty sure it's on the JOLT page somewhere, isn't it?
Maybe, maybe.
Well, like we're presenters, so I think they can contact.
Okay, well, if you can't, well, too bad. I'm sorry. All right, bye. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Oh, that was it.
Yay, we did it.